Hi, welcome to Matt's Garage, where we are restoring my 1972 International Scout II again. This is part deux of my fuel tank conversion to an EFI fuel tank. I'm not going to tell you what kind of EFI system I got, but I'd love to hear your guesses in the comments below. So on the last episode, I just kind of gave you a tour around my fuel tank and talked about the safety of making sure that you never weld on a fuel tank that's had fuel in it. I had mine professionally cleaned, and then I did a flame test, and I'm still here. I've been welding on it all night, so good to go. So let me show you the fuel tank, and then after I get done with the fuel tank video, I've got a couple of tool tips, tricks that you might find useful that I've seen over time, and I'm kind of excited about finally using them. I apologize in advance for the there's going to be some audio spikes because this thing, as I said last time, is like a bass drum, and even more so now there's a hole in it. So what did I do? You can see I had all these evap fittings here. I ground those off, welded those shut. I had a bracket here, welded, cut that off, and I had brackets in the front. I cut those off, and I'm gonna weld those 1.5 inches higher. The reason I'm doing that is I had this custom made for the Scout when it had a 1-inch body lift. I don't want a 1-inch body lift, it just makes it too high. So when I took the body lift out, obviously the body then hit this. And I'm really glad I'm doing this because I realized that it had been hitting the body the whole time, actually. So I need to lower it more than 1 inch. I need to lower it about 1.25 inches each side, and that means moving the brackets up. So I bought this fabricator kit. It's actually pretty cool. It's on Amazon, 40 bucks. And it comes with a bunch of gussets. So I'll put some 2-inch angle and then gusset it up, and that'll be good to go. This kit also comes with these trick tabs or whatever, which are great for welding onto the roll cage. So, and I even used a couple of these to do my rear shock mounts. So really useful kit. So that's how I'm going to suspend it. Now, the other thing you'll notice is that there's a giant hole in my gas tank. And I showed you last time, TankSync sells this fuel pump recess. So what I'm going to do is basically mount that in there, and you can see from this angle that this part will be set in lower, right? And I'll have like a ledge to bring my fuel lines out. It's not that tight under the Scout there, but the other advantage is I get a nice flat shot down to the bottom of the tank. So this is how it used to be. Obviously that is kind of dorked up there. I just cut that out. I showed you last time I have a fuel level fuel sender plate that I'll weld into that thing over on the side. This vent tube, when I went to pull it out, you know, this bottom part was welded to the bottom of the tank. So I just did one of these things and broke it off and left a giant hole in the bottom of my tank. Plus I'd done a little whoops on the rocks there, which exposed the weakness of this tank. It is just, it's pretty good thickness. I think that's 18 gauge or 16 gauge, but it's still just sheet metal. So what I decided to do while I had it, you know, while I'm working on it, since it's clean, was weld a plate to the bottom. So this is 3/16 plate, and the first thing I did was weld the inside. Let me show you real quick. We're going in. So I basically welded all around with spot welds, and then I did a leak test, and right in that corner there's a weld that's not doing too well, and it leaks like a sieve. I should have just done a test with my flashlight first, because you can actually see light through it, so that's definitely going to leak. But that's not a big deal. When I fill it up, I didn't fill it with just pure water. I mixed some OSFO in there, which is prep and etch. Basically, it creates a layer that doesn't rust. But anyway, so I found the leak. Now I'm just letting it dry. Tomorrow I'll go in and I'll fill those pinholes, and then I'll leak test it again. And then once I'm satisfied that there's no leaks from this inside weld, then I'll go ahead and I'll put a nice tight bead the same way all around around this, and then this is the main part that's prone to getting hit when you come off of rocks. It's right behind the differential. So that'll be good, and it'll be much better protected. This is you can see the OSFO reaction there. So the tank is coming along. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about just projects and fuel tanks. I've spent, it's embarrassing how much time I've spent thinking about fuel tanks. You know, a new one of these set up for fuel injection is about $900, which is a lot of jack. The pump was, the tank sink pump I showed you last time was around $230 with the hanger and all that. Another $50 and just the little mounting plate for the sender and the recess. And then $100 to get it cleaned. And then all of my labor. So, you know, is it worth it? I don't know, but I want to do everything myself, so I'm trying. A lot of you guys might be worried, well, that's all going to rust out. You're right, that would rust out. But the same guy I had professionally clean this tank, I'm going to take it back to him when I'm all done, and it's exactly the way I want, and I'm going to have him do an epoxy coat on the inside, and then that will fill any pinholes and then protect the bottom with the rust. He created a contraption that basically rotates the tank on 3 axes while it's filled with just media, it's nuts and bolts, and it scores the inside, then he does the epoxy, and then it's good to go forever, and it's a proper fuel tank epoxy. Okay, on to my little tool tricks. Oh wait, first let me talk about broken parts. So I bought a stainless steel Dana 20 twin stick shifter because you can't run the stock shifter when you do a Dana 20 to AX15 swap, just so you know, on a Scout Dana 20. Anyway, so I bought the stainless kit and it's got 2 arms, but it didn't land in the right spot. It was interfering with the shifter for the AX15. So I put it in the press brake that I made, and I bent it, and then I bent it too many times, so I snapped it in half. So that's $135 down the toilet. I ordered another one from JB Customs. They make really good stuff. Don't take that as a comment on their quality. The quality's excellent. I just overstressed it. I bent it too many times in the same spot. So hopefully I'll get this next one right. They also sell like a trick leather shifter boot cover that I got. I'll show that to you guys at some point. It's awesome. Now, tool time. Today I passed my PMP exam. Yay, I'm a pimp. I actually used to have it, and I let it lapse because I was traveling all over the world doing projects. I'm like, I don't need letters. Now I'm back here doing consulting, and it's like, you need a letter. So I rewarded myself by going to Harbor Freight. That's where I was going with this story. And I bought this 40-piece carbon steel tap and die set. It's like $15. I already have a Harbor Freight tap and die set, and it's the nitride coated one. Very fancy. So why did I buy this one? Well, here's my trick. See, there's 2 kinds of taps. There's a tapered tap. I don't know if you can see this, but it's got a taper on the end of it. Focus. See how it tapers in? Okay, and that helps it get started. The problem is, you know, when you're doing restorations on engines and stuff, there's a lot of blind holes. So if you run a tapered tap in there, it doesn't clean out the stuff at the very end of the blind hole. So what you do is you buy yourself a cheap set from Harbor Freight. You take a cutoff wheel and you cut it off where it's straight and make yourself a blind tap. And then you run this through your engine block after you're done cleaning everything. Gets all the junk out of there, makes all the bolts go in super clean. Yeah, it's a nice little tip for you. You said, why don't you just buy blind taps? Yeah, look at the price of blind hole taps. It's like they're made of crushed bald eagle skulls or Fabergé eggs or something. Okay, so that's tool trick number 1. And then tool trick number 2, which is more related to what I'm doing, is this fuel filler is smooth around here, right? And I really don't like that. I like to have a bead around that for a better seal and make sure the fumes stay in the tank. So what I'm doing is, this is a tip. I got to give credit to Kyle Voss from Fab Forms. He actually made this tip video like a long time ago before he was a cool guy with a hat. But I had the concept in my mind. I looked it up and saw that he'd done it. So that sort of gave me the confidence. Basically, you buy a cheap set of crimpers from Harbor Freight, but it has to be this style. Focus. You see that little tooth right there? Okay. What you do is you cut the end of this thing off and you open up the mouth just a little bit right there. And then you basically run this along your tube and it makes it's like a bead roller. What I'm wondering is if I can make it thin enough to go ahead and roll a small bead onto this one as well, just by taking the edge down. I don't know, we'll see, but good little tool trick and tip. Okay, so that was part 2. The next time you see this, it should have everything welded up, have the tank recess in there, and then I'll be ready to take this back to Leicester to get the inside coated. Super excited. That'll take care of my fuel. The next step after that, though, is fuel lines, and I gotta tell you, I mean, why is it so hard? Like, you've got everyone else can tune out. This is just, this is for the hardcores. You got the stainless nylon, rubber. It's like nylon, titanium. No, it's nylon, Teflon, rubber, and then stainless. And those have AN fittings, and those cost a fortune. Then you have Earls. Then you have there's another brand that push locks, right? And they look like a pain in the butt to assemble. And the hose is like $120 for 20 feet. I mean, what is that stuff made out of? So what I'm thinking about doing is actually buying the Dorman nylon fuel line. It's just the same stuff that comes in the Silverados and Ford Explorers and Toyota Tacoma. Every factory vehicle that's running fuel injection has these nylon fuel lines. The Dorman fittings are super cheap. The problem, of course, is this comes with all 1/4 inch MPT fittings, the tank sink pump. So you got to do 1/4 inch to barb, get the barb on the nylon, then you do your Dorman. My only issue is once I get it from the tank up to the engine, how do you connect it to your fuel injection, right? You can adapt it to AN, that's not a big deal. They make adapters to go from the nylon to the AN. The issue is, do you just run the nylon? How do you support the nylon up so it doesn't sit on the intake manifold? I wouldn't think you could just rest nylon on intake. Maybe I run hard lines from the fuel injection down a little bit off the engine and then hook up the nylon, but that's like a pain because then I have to do the whole flaring and business. I really don't know. I'm thinking maybe just buy some pre-made AN fuel hose, 12 inches or 24 inches, and run those and then connect to those with the nylon, and that way the part that's sitting on the engine is heat resistant. I don't know. Like I said, if I spent 1/4 of the time that I spent thinking about my fuel system on my stocks, I could buy the nicest scale in Washington. Except I already have the nicest scale in Washington. See you next time on Matt's Garage.